Hi, Becky.
Hi, Belinda.
Thank you so much for joining me.
I am honored to be here.
I'm going to start with your bio. All right. Becky's passion for supporting children with special needs began in an elementary school classroom where she witnessed the misunderstood challenges faced by children on the autism spectrum. Recognizing the need for a child-centered approach, she joined the Autism Treatment Center of America, relocating from the UK to pursue her calling. For the past 2 decades, Becky has dedicated herself to teaching the Sunrise program, working directly with over 700 individual children and supporting thousands of families worldwide in individual and group settings. Her unwavering commitment and personalized approach have helped these children reach their true potential. Becky describes her work as her life's mission, and her efforts continue to inspire and bring hope to those she serves. Is
Yes.
there anything else you'd like to add, Becky?
Just that I am more in love with the work that I do now than I have been ever. It just deepens every day.
That's what happens when you're in your passion.
True. I was just going to say, I came to autism little later in life. I came to the Autism Treatment Center of America at 30.
Mhm.
And I always had this trust that I would find something that I aligned with, and this was it. And I never looked back.
Amazing. Amazing. And the difference that you're making in people's lives is incredible. And your own, which we'll touch upon on a different interview.
Yes.
I also wanted to give a little background of how I found you. A friend of mine had read Barry Neil Kaufman's book, right? I think it's called The Sunrise Program,
Sunrise
right?
Miracle continues.
Yes, The Sunrise Miracle continues. And she was talking about the Sunrise Program. And when I looked up a YouTube video of the Sunrise Program, which when I shared this video, I will also drop that video in. It was really amazing because it was this a grown male who showed video of him when he was younger and his symptoms. And he's now they've reversed his symptoms through the Sunrise program. And he's literally saying, when I was in this room with the woman that he was with, it was the first time that he ever felt love from a person. And that's amazing, right? He's feeling love from this person in this room that understands the Sunrise program, and it's not his parents,
Right.
right? Right.
I love the way I've turned out. I love all the crazy things that have happened to me. Several things I'm really excited about. I'm very excited about studying some of the things in college, like history and media studies. I'm also thinking of doing graphic design. I would like to get married and have a family. Not right now. There's a few things I have to do first. I know that being autistic was part of my past, but I look at it as a true gift. I see that if I can do something so incredible as to reach out from an unreachable place, I can reach anywhere I want. It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
This is it. No, please. What do you want? Tell me what you want. You really want that one. Okay, let's get him reading the book. I want him reading the book.
I had been, at that point, diagnosed with autism, the whole 9 yards.
I only pray that it's not what you want.
They said I was mentally retarded, I would never talk to anybody again, it would be unlikely I would ever communicate, things like that. I remember that I did many things to calm myself down. Like, for example, when I was in a mood where I was very uncomfortable, I would look at the sparkling motion of the raindrops, and that would give me a hopeful feeling. I remember always liking things that were shiny when I was autistic. I remember loving bubbles, water, reflections, anything that was transparent fascinated me and always kept me mesmerized. I loved mirrors. I loved looking at myself, very much so. It wasn't until we started our own custom practice based off the Sunrise program, and we had our own custom playroom, that I really began to remember opening up and gaining memories. And I remember opening up very slowly, but I remember feeling that there was some kind of connection beginning. Some of our very best friends came throughout my life, came at this moment as strangers and started working with me. And I remember all kinds of people.
Reach for the sky. We're reaching for the sky. Yeah, high. We're reaching for the sky.
And somehow I think someone named Shelley Marcus, who was very close to us, had anchored me somehow. And I think that's the first time I really started reconnecting with people. And I felt there was a warm presence in that room.
Yes! Wow! You are so good at that! You are amazing!
Everyone seemed to let go when they did this process with me.
Over!
I felt loved. I felt very loved during the process of the Sunrise program. I just needed to reconnect with someone who cared about me. It was just pure love. It was just clarity and connection.
Hi! 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 Hi!
I have recovered from what many people said was unrecoverable. The length that my parents did the Sunrise program with me was at least 2 to 3 years. It is a commitment. I know that being autistic was part of my past, but I look at it as a true gift. It is to find the type of hope I have for anything I want to do and for anything anybody else wants to do. It connects me to that. It's to find my goals, because I see that if I can do something so incredible as to reach out from an unreachable place, I can reach anywhere I want. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It really is. It's beautiful. I couldn't recommend any other place to bring your kid if they're autistic than this place. It is a place that is filled with passion, with love, with understanding, with revolutionary ideas that will change not just how you help your child, but how you help yourself. There's no other way that feels so loving and so connected.
And so can you please share with us what the Sunrise program is?
Yes, absolutely. And the best way to do it is to kind of go back to the beginning, because it really is steeped in a great amount of history. So back in the 70s, there were two parents, one of them the author of that book, Barry Neil Kaufman, and his wife, Samaria Light Kaufman. And they had a son, Ron, and Ron was diagnosed with severe autism. And just to paint you a bit of a picture of what that meant at the time, he was diagnosed or he was tested with an IQ of below 30. He had no sounds. He was completely mute, no language. He wouldn't look at anyone in the eye. And he actually wouldn't respond or seem like he was even noticing that anyone was even in the same space or the same room as him. And he would engage, as many autistic people do, in repetitious behaviors for hours upon hours upon hours. And one of the things he would do is he would rock back and forth, and he would take these plates, dinner plates, and he would spin them, and he would flap his hands and rock and watch as the plates spun and spun and spun. And at the time, the Kaufmans were, reaching out to professionals for help and looking to know how do they help their son. And they were just kind of met with this very negative attitude. And in fact, they were told, this is a terrible case. This is a tragedy that this has happened to your son. And they were even advised to put him in an institution and kind of forget about him and focus on their own neurotypical children. And thankfully, they were already practicing a philosophy in their life, which was the idea that they could actually choose how they felt, no matter what the stimulus or the situation was that they were presented with. So they kind of had that in their core already, that they were able to kind of look at a circumstance and say, well, I get to choose how I feel about that. That situation itself is not bad or wrong or terrible or a tragedy. So with that belief system, they actually said, no, thank you. We're going to create our own path. They went completely against the grain. And they started working with Ron in a very non-distracting environment in the home, actually the bathroom. And his mom, because they had tried everything they could to kind of get his attention and try and get him to connect with them, and nothing was working. So as a way to really show him, we love you unconditionally, we believe in you, and we want you to just know that we are here believing in you and loving you. She decided she was going to try and enter his world. So she took dinner plates, the same as him, and she started spinning them alongside him. And she started flapping her hands and she started rocking back and forth. And her only intention at that time was to just find a way to be with him and find a way to show her love was tangible. And she did that over and over again for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, every single day. And I think on something like the 900th hour, he actually stopped what he was doing and he looked at what she was doing. He looked over at her. And of course, she was so elated because he never looked and he never moved towards them. And he was kind of limp in their arms when they would show him affection. She was so excited that she lit up and she was like, oh, goodness, you're looking at me. That's amazing. And he started responding to that. And slowly, bit by bit, she kind of created and co-founded this methodology called the Sunrise Program now. And that was the story that they did was made into an NBC movie. I don't know if you know about this, but it was actually made into a movie in the late 70s called Sunrise, A Miracle of Love. And that was an amazing like blockbuster movie at the time. And it documents the story, the whole story. And so basically they worked with him in this way, in this non-distracting environment. They created a team around them of other people who wanted to do the same thing. And he started to really emerge from his autism. And in fact, he fully emerged from his autism with no traces of his former condition at all. And he went on to just be this amazing little boy, completely social, like the most social person you would ever meet. He has a near genius IQ. He went to an Ivy League university, has a degree in biomedical ethics, and now actually teaches parents and goes around the world and lectures and helps parents with their own autistic children to kind of do the same thing that helped him emerge.
Yeah.
And then in 1983, the Autism Treatment Center of America was co-founded, home of the Sunrise Program, and the rest is history. That's where we've been a teaching and training center since 1983. It's a nonprofit organization. And I came along in 2004 and have been there ever since, as now I'm one of the senior teachers, and have worked with over 700, 800 children, one-on-one, adults as well on the autism spectrum. And I just love it. It's just amazing. And it comes from, you know, a really inspiring story. And one of the beautiful things about it is its parents, right? It's created by parents, it's co-founded by parents, it's for parents. And at the end of the day, that's one of the most amazing principles of the Sunrise Program, is that the parent truly is the best resource for their child. And yeah, you know, parent professionals can be useful, and and guide you, you know, but they're going to walk in and out of your child's life at the end of the day, you know, and you're not
They
going.
don't, and they don't spend time with your child. They don't spend enough time with their child.
Exactly.
I really love what you shared about when they got the diagnosis from the professional, because it's a similar story as Jody Mishak, right, who was her son's autism, because she went to one of the world's best neurosurgeons or neuropsychologists that basically looked her in the eye and said, you can expect to have your child in a home by the time he's 18 and he'll just be there forever. And when she walked out, she had that same impetus in her mind, was like, no, that's not going to be my story. And you're wrong.
Yeah.
She's completely reversed her son's autism.
Wow.
It's just, and it comes in so many different ways.
Yeah. And the thing is, the brain is plastic, right? We know that. There's so much science to back that. But for some reason with autism, it's not believed that these kids can really grow and change, and these people can really create new neural pathways. And that's what the whole techniques and the strategies that we offer are designed to do, is kind of give the brain an environment, you know, to be able to heal itself. And that's what we're doing, is we're helping our kids heal.
Yeah, and understanding from a love perspective, how I found you was because I was interested in this. And when I looked up your Instagram, the things that you would say, one of the posts that you did was the stimming that your child does, that is what regulates their nervous system.
Yes.
I think if more people understood that,
Yeah.
then they would understand, like, oh, that is good for you. Because
Right.
a lot of us have no idea that our nervous system is messed up,
Yeah.
dysregulated, and we don't know how to regulate it. And here's this person that is doing it. And possibly when you're joining them and doing it, maybe either you are also regulating your nervous system, or you're also maybe figuring out a way to regulate your own nervous system because you're participating in this thing, which is amazing.
Absolutely. And we always say, like, aren't our kids so brilliant? Because they have found the one thing in a world that is super out of control and unpredictable that is in their control. And it's a repetitious movement or behavior that they're doing over and over again. And we all have those, right? We all have rituals that we do. We all have repetitious things that we go back to when we're on overload to regulate and to heal and calm ourselves. And for some reason, when we see autistic kids doing it, the general population is saying that's wrong. We must stop that behavior. And so there's a kind of a theory of, like, we want to seek to understand the child instead of trying to change them. And I think, yeah, there's many reasons for that, I guess. One is because it's uncomfortable to see your child not connecting in the way that a neurotypical child would, but also because the messaging that parents are getting is, we should stop this and we should get our kids to conform.
And what's interesting about that is these children are actually regulating their nervous system and what we see as abnormal. But how is it normal that it's okay for adults to just numb themselves, sort of feeling like they're regulating their nervous system through alcohol, drugs? What's the one typical behavior that seems to be normal that adults do a lot?
Scrolling.
We don't think there's anything wrong with that, right?
Right. It's true. It's true. And the beautiful thing about the Sunrise program joining technique is that, you know, that's a way to go into your child's world. And it kind of goes so in line with what you teach, and some of the wisdom keepers that I've seen, which is, and the perfect child, right? Which is, the child is the teacher. So instead of, I'm coming here and I'm going to teach you, and, you know, you're the student and I'm the teacher here, actually the child is my teacher. And if I go into a session with a child and that is my main intention, what can I learn from you? Everything that I need to know about that child and to help that child is actually presented to me from that child. You know, so they show us the way in, and then when they're ready, we show them the way out, but it's done with love and motivation and joy, and it's like a very inviting way to inspire our kids. But that's not the intention. The original intention, when we go back to Samaria, was not, I'm going to join you in your world so that you respond to me. It was, I'm going to join you in your world because that I can't find any evidence right now that you actually know I even exist and that I'm loving you and believing in you. So this is the only thing I have left I can do, is try and see what it's actually like to spin plates, and what's it like when I flap my hands, and what does it feel like to rock back and forth. And it's a very sincere technique. It's not done, copying. It's not like a copying thing where you just, I'm trying to kind of go through the motions. We'll actually try and feel what the kids might be feeling, or see what the kids might see, and match as exactly as possible. And it's the most amazing thing. It really is. It's very profound.
So tell me, I feel like as an adult going into experiences, we're so head-based and intellect-based that a lot of times we tend to want to find the answer or figure it out or wonder how this is working type thing. So given that you've worked with like hundreds of families and you go in with that intention to learn from the child,
Mm-hmm.
do you have practices that help you be in that space? Do you set an intention? Do you meditate before? Like, what is that to open up your space to this actual loving curiosity?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's so many practices, but the actual practice of joining does that. So just like someone would do a meditation, when you're doing a meditation, your goal is to be fully present and to try and let go of any thoughts that are happening, to try and let go of the past, to try not to think about the future, and just to be. And that's exactly what joining is. So knowing and trusting that that is the best way to form a connection with this person, because the other ways aren't working. Like, they're not reciprocating, they're not coming to us. So if we can actually say, actually, the main thing here, yes, I want to help this child, of course, to be happy and to grow and to be communicative and to get their needs met. I have goals. It's not that I'm goal-less, but it's understanding that in autism, the main challenge is connecting and relating to people. So we want to do our part of forming a connection. And that doesn't mean that they're going to reciprocate, but it means that we can actually let go of any need or attachment that we have to them changing in front of us, and fully dive into their world and trust that that's the best way for them to feel that love. And so it's just amazing when you fully decide. I mean, that's not to say sometimes thoughts don't pop in, but then to really allow that and say, okay, I'm thinking about something right now that's not serving me. My child is not gonna, that benefit in any way from this. So let me let that go and come back to the moment. And that's a constant practice of doing that.
That's so interesting because really a big goal of our journey as humans is to find that meditation and that centering and source, connecting to source. And it's interesting that you had said, when you're working with an autistic child, but it's not just when you're working with an autistic child, it's any child.
Yeah.
And if we could just find that present moment, then
Yes.
we're actually helping ourselves in a bigger way, because it helps inform us in our interactions day to day with other people, and really remaining present and letting the thoughts go and the expectations and all of that. So
Yes.
that's pretty incredible.
It is. And the very first time I really got it was from a parent. So you were talking about the parent that the video that you watched, Simon, I think his name was, and his volunteer had actually learned everything from the parents, right? So they had trained him and they had helped him to understand it. And that's what happened with me. I began working in a Sunrise program, and the mom, she taught me to join. Because the little boy that I was working with, he would actually take a blanket and he would put it over a table, and he would crawl inside under the blanket and completely, seemingly shut me out. And at first I thought my goal was to play, because my history was playing with kids and teaching kids, right? So I was like lifting up the blanket. I was trying to talk to him. I was trying to go in his blanket. I was just doing everything I could to try and engage him. And the more I did it, the more deeply he immersed himself into his world, to the point where he was literally hiding from me. And so the mom said to me, next time you go in the playroom, actually, why don't you try and get your own blanket and set up your own table, like next to him, and go inside your own blanket like he is, and try and find something that you love about it. And so I went in and I was like, okay, so I don't need to try and get him to change. I need to do what he's doing with authenticity. And so that's exactly what I did. And this child would never connect with me. He was running away from me. He was doing anything he could to kind of escape my presence. And so I go in and I'm thinking about what she said, just put a blanket over a table, go inside, try and find something you love. And so I got these 2 chairs, put this blanket over, crawled inside this tiny little space. And I'm thinking, find something you love, find something you love, find something you love. And at that moment, the sunlight started coming through the blanket. It was like a crochet blanket, and the sunlight was coming through in this shaft, and it looked like gold. And I noticed that the dust was dancing in the light, and it looked like angels or fairies or something, right? And I was like, well, that's kind of cool. She said, find something you love. So I'm just going to hang out here and watch this gold dust. And I lost track of time. I don't know if I was there for 5 minutes or for 30 minutes, because I was completely in the moment. And that's when I felt a little noise and a movement. And it was the little boy, Robert, and he was opening up the blanket that I had created. And he came inside and he looked deeply into my eyes for the first time ever. And he crawled up next to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this really happening? And he put his arm around me and he laid there and he spooned me. And he looked into my eyes like this and he giggled. And we were just looking in each other's eyes. And it was the strongest connection I think I had ever had with anyone. And I didn't do anything at all to coerce that, or to make that happen, apart from not needing him to come to me in any way, and trying to get inside his head and his shoes and his experience, and to even deepen it, to find something I loved about it. And that was the beginning of our relationship, of him actually wanting to be with me and connecting with me and moving towards me.
Oh my gosh. It's almost as if he like came in, was like, now do you get it?
It was. He was like,
Right?
now I get, like, the moment you let go of needing anything from me, I'm actually going to come to you. And when you think about that, that's such an important skill for our kids to have, because initiating and joining in and coming to other kids is really challenging for them. So, I know there are other modalities where we try and get the kids to respond to us, and we make the first move. But with the Sunrise program, it's really about holding that space for the child to actually make the first move. And then when they do make that first move, we're there with the bells and whistles, like really excited and really embracing of it.
Right.
But if they don't make that first move, then how can they actually practice, initiating with another person? So they're much more invested in that, and they're kind of bought in at that point, because they decided, I'm going to come out of my camp, which is very calming and soothing to me, and I'm going to go over there and I'm going to connect with that person, and it's coming from me.
Right.
And so how valuable is that?
So valuable, because boundaries.
Yeah.
From the minute children are born, we test their boundaries, not test, we literally like invade their boundaries. And so these children that are showing these symptoms, they're literally just saying like, no,
Yeah.
this is my world.
Mhm.
I've come with my purpose and I will dictate.
Yeah.
This is where, like, when we talk about transforming the world, it's allowing children to have agency over themselves.
Yes.
And how do we allow them to have agency over themselves when we are forcing them?
Yeah. I know. And this is particularly useful with someone who's autistic because, you know, first of all, the sensory world is really, really bombarding, you know, and we don't even see that. But we know from reading books from autistic authors that, you know, sight, sound, smells, the way things feel on their body, like that can all be really, really intensely coming in with no filter. So that's all unpredictable, my sensory world, if I'm a child with autism. And then also people are about the most unpredictable source in someone with autism's lives, because we have all these social rules. Sometimes we're moody, sometimes we're warm and fuzzy, sometimes we're cold, sometimes we're sarcastic. We do this weird behavior. Sometimes we're shouting, sometimes we're laughing, right? And for someone who doesn't yet understand all the social rules and nuances, that's very unpredictable. And
Right.
then there's our attitudes. Our kids on the spectrum sense our attitudes, and they are like, they have this attitudinal radar, and that's something that they can count on to navigate the world.
Yeah.
So why would they want to actually come to us if that's all very unpredictable? So I love the idea of boundaries and autonomy, because they need autonomy more so, you know, than a neurotypical child. And we can create that autonomy if we really join and let go of needing and pressuring them to come and conform and respond to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's so incredible. So there are many families out there that have actually reversed their child's autism in a variety of ways,
Yeah.
right? Including diet, nutrition, therapy, etc. And is that the goal of the Sunrise program, is to reverse the symptoms of autism,
Mhm.
like 100% reversal, or what is
Yeah,
the
that's a
gauge?
great question. I think it's one that people are really curious about. So our goal really is to help that child to be less stressed, and to help that child to want, which is different than doing, want to create social relationships and maintain relationships. So sometimes the side effect of having that goal, so if you reduce a child's stresses, right, and that's going to be an environment. So we have a Sunrise program playroom that's like specially adapted to kind of filter out distraction and give them a heightened sense of control. So that's already addressing the sensory system, the nervous system, right, and the environment. And then if we as people are really awesome to be with, like we're the best friends in the world, we're not going to push, we're not going to judge, we're going to go into your world, we're only going to do things that you love and enjoy, and, you know, build a bond from that space, then you're going to find people more enticing and more interesting and more compelling and more inviting. And if our children can actually learn to really want to connect, they can have the joy of friendship, they can have connections with people, they can actually, you know, go on to do the things that they love. Like if you want to have a job, you got to work as a team, you know, you got to hold down a job interview. If you want to get your needs met, you need to actually be able to communicate that, right? Those are all social skills. So if we can really help our children to learn how to use social skills and love and enjoy and see the value in social skills, that will give them a meaningful life. So that sometimes means that the kids actually completely lose their symptoms of autism because they're finding the relationship compelling, and then they start to really come out of their autism, and then they don't need to stim as much because they're not needing to control everything, right? Because it's like easy to be in the social world. And, you know, rather than recovery, which we used to use that word quite a lot, we now talk about how, you know, autism is symptoms, but it can also be biomedical things that are going on. And with, you know, helping the environment and helping a child to really connect and relate to people, possibly doing a diet that would be healing as well. We have seen many people be later evaluated, and they no longer fit the criteria of autism. So whatever you want to call that, that's fine, but that's not the main goal. The main goal is for them to be happy and have a way to connect with people. And then there's many flavors of that, right? Many
Right.
shapes.
So even if you have a child who is comfortable just connecting with his mother and father.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just sitting
And
going on.
maybe that mother and father are the only friend that that child has, but they have a support system, they have a relationship together, they can talk back and forth, right? And so success looks different for every single family, you know. And I was just talking on the phone to a mom who said, my son actually said, I love you for the first time. And if this is as good as it gets, I am happy. Like I can go to my grave knowing he said, I love you. And
Right.
that's, you know, that's success for her. And for someone else, it might be going to college, you know. Kelsey, you'll look at the success stories on our website and our YouTube page, but there was a lady called Kelsey who was very severely autistic and actually has just graduated and become a doctor, you know, and has no signs of autism whatsoever. And for other kids, it might be, you know, that they learn to talk, they go from not yet having any language to being fully conversational. You know, for other kids, it might be that their intense behaviors and their crying dissipates, you know, or they no longer have meltdowns, or they're able to go out in public, you know, and really cope with that, or their sensory system is more regulated. And it's different for everyone, but I can honestly say I've never seen a child who has not benefited from it
Mhm.
in some way. But we can't
Yeah.
guarantee what's going to happen with any particular child, of course.
No, of course not, because everyone is on their own developmental journey.
Exactly, exactly. And there's
Yeah.
a huge component of attitude too. So in the Sunrise program, we actually help parents with their stress levels. So just like Bears in Samaria already had a process they were doing, we now call it the happiness GPS.
Mhm.
And it's a way of looking at the world and seeing there are situations that are going to happen that are out of our control. And we get to choose what those mean, you
Right.
know? So is this autism terrible or is it a gift? Those are just two different beliefs. Neither one is right or true. It's just the lens that you look through. And so if we can help parents to really accept that their child is perfect, right, and really unique, and that there's a gift and a blessing from that child, even if that child is doing things that are challenging, if we can help them with that piece, then they can actually heal, right? So it's about helping the parents heal so that they have more space and more resources and more energy and more presence to be able to work with that child and kind of help them grow. But it's definitely not just about the kids. It's about
Well,
really empowering the parents to have those tools to be able to see their child and think, my child is beautiful. They don't need to be fixed. They're perfect the way they are. And guess
everything.
what? I also really want to help them to be happy
Yeah.
and successful and to grow, right? And
Right.
those two
Right.
things can actually coexist together. It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be one or the other, like I accept and now I don't do anything to help. It could be I accept and embrace you, and now I'm going to go the next step and really offer you tools to support you in your life.
Right. Higher purpose,
Yeah.
you know. Yes. And so if there is a person who has like an adult autistic child,
Mhm.
does the Sunrise program work for them too? If they're like, you know, a
Yes.
teenager
Because if we're
or like,
looking at the goal of them being happy and them knowing and experiencing the joy of relationships, then yes, it works, right? So, and I wanted to tell you the story of Shaquille because Shaquille was 36 years old when I met him. And what happened was his mother had him very young. And when he was in his early teens, he was very aggressive. He was hitting and pinching and biting, and she actually couldn't handle him. So she ended up putting him in an institution. And then years later, she actually came to find the Sunrise program, and she came to our Sunrise program startup and learned about how to empower herself to basically kind of put to rest and accept that she had done that. She had put him in an institution, but also gain the motivation and the belief in herself to go and start working with him. And she actually ended up reclaiming him back from the institution at 32 years old. And he was now his, you know, she did a Sunrise program for him. She brought him to our center. We all worked with him for 2 weeks straight. He was absolutely amazing. He had epilepsy and autism. He went from being aggressive to being sweet and gentle. He went from having no communicative language to being fully conversational and being able to ask for what he wanted and get his needs met. And he also was able to then advocate for himself, because at that point he was an adult and she couldn't just reclaim him because he was his own person. So he got to a point where he could actually verbalize, yes, I actually do want to go home and I want to be with my mum now. And so he ended up going home and the rest was history. They had this beautiful life together.
Wow.
That was an adult, he was older than me at the time when I was working with him. And there he was changing and growing. And another thing that happened with him is his seizures dramatically reduced as well. So he was having seizures every day. And I think they went from being like 1 or 2 a year after the Sunrise program.
Wow.
I know.
Incredible.
Yeah. So there's many stories, of older kids. And that's one thing that I think, stroke victims, they can be really old, right? Old in age, but they can learn to regain speech or regain mobility or movement, right? Because the brain is plastic. So an adult can also learn to heal just as much as a young child can. We really believe that.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And so your program is global. You're located in Massachusetts.
Yep.
So people come to you, but then do they also, are they able to access the tools and everything
Yes.
online? You can just kind of
Yes,
like.
I love that. I love that question. So we, primarily have been a learning and training center for many, many years until the pandemic, right? So before the pandemic, we would have people come to our center. They would stay with us. We have a campus, beautiful campus, 100 acres. And they would come and there's housing there. And we would do the Sunrise program startup for them. And when the pandemic happened, we moved over to online. So we would still offer the same program, but we would do it through Zoom. Now we have this amazing opportunity because things have normalized a bit more. For the first time in 4 years, we're actually able to do an in-person Sunrise program startup, which is happening actually in August, August 5th through 9th. And we're not doing it on our campus anymore, but we are doing it down the road in a beautiful town called Great Barrington. It's in the Berkshire Hills. And people can come and stay in a hotel nearby and learn and do the 5-day training, which is an introduction to the Sunrise program. So you learn the Sunrise program principles and the techniques, and you get to be in the company of other parents and caregivers. And I will say a lot of people make lifelong friends when they come to that program because it can be really isolating for a lot of people. And they meet people for the first time that know what they're going through, have walked a similar path, and they brainstorm together. And it's a really beautiful experience. And you see the parents coming in on Monday, and it literally looks like there's a load on their shoulders. Like they look like this.
Right.
And slowly over the week, they start to just loosen up and have fun. And we do all these fun activities where you learn to play. Right. And you learn to let loose and you learn to join. And there's activities that they do together with each other. And they start to unfold. And then we help them with their attitude and their beliefs, which is like a big weight off stress-wise.
100%.
And they go at the end of the week and they're like, you can just see they've expanded visibly, and it's like a relief, to them. And so we're just so excited to be able to be with people again in person and be able to kind of help them and hug them and touch them and go through these activities together.
And is this intro program just for parents? They're not bringing their kids with them?
They don't bring their kids. We do actually have another type of training where you can come to our center with your child, and that's called the Sunrise Program Family Training. And we only have a few spots for that. We have one left this year, actually in October, 1 week left. But that's where we actually get to work with one family, and we have an apartment that they stay in, and then there's a playroom built onto it. And they come and they stay and they just immerse themselves in it for a whole week. And so that's also available. But that's at the end of the day, that's something that is not going to be as sustainable for someone. So we really like to help the parents to learn themselves, right? So instead of them coming to us, it's more like, let's empower you and give you the tools, because at the end of the day, you are your child's best resource. And if you can know how to be with your child on a daily basis, that's going to be the biggest impact for them. You know, we're just going to see them for a week and then they're going to go off. So lifelong
You feel
tools.
disempowered. You feel like you lost your crutch.
Exactly. So we want to, we want to give them the tools as versus they come to us for the tools. And we keep providing those tools.
Yeah. So since you guys have had this program in August going on for
Yeah.
a week, and it's just sort of remote from your location in
Yeah.
Massachusetts, is the intention to also be able to do this? Like, let's say there's 5 families that get together in like California that want to learn these tools. Would you be able to bring, yourself out and do this 5-day program? And so it's kind of
Yeah,
like,
I mean, if there was enough people interested, we would be open to going off campus and traveling. We've done that in the past, right? We've taught in Singapore, like we've taught in the Philippines, in France, in England. So we have definitely done that in the past. And then there's also consultations, right? So, we can do Zoom consultations where we can help families one-on-one. And we'll do an hour. And, during that time, we sometimes watch video clips of them working with their children, and we can kind of give them hands-on feedback, And so some parents will just have a consultation or a package of consultations. So there's lots of ways to learn, but we're just so excited about the in-person because it's just the first time we've done it in so long that it's like, this is the way, to come and really, really get that full impact. But there's plenty of other learning paths. And you
yeah.
mentioned, so there's some great books that Barry Noel Kaufman has written. There's our YouTube, there's our Facebook, Instagram, all of that too.
So many
So
ways.
as many links as you want to provide would be awesome.
Yeah, because when you're talking about the in-person, I just keep thinking, gosh, it's not even parents of autistic children, right? You and I have had this conversation before. Like everything that you're teaching is sort of life skills.
It is.
It like relationship skills. And so if people want to get together and have one of the people at Sunrise come out and do it in person for a week, just like you guys are doing, like, why not?
I know.
Why not? Even if you don't have an autistic child, just if you have a child, there's always going to be instances where you want to meet them with love.
Yeah. I mean, for me as a parent myself, like it's been invaluable to, to have my child midway through my training, and then to know all of these amazing techniques and skills and mainly the attitude, right? Because, it's just 90% of the Sunrise program is actually about how you feel and your beliefs. And so some of the Sunrise program parents will come for their child first, and then they realize, actually, I am gaining so much from this. Like, I'm feeling lighter, I'm feeling more comfortable, like I'm working through my stress. And then they end up going to we have adult programs too, which are nothing to do with autism and everything to do with people who want to grow themselves in a personal way. So we also have another sector, which is called the Option Institute. And that's for people who want to develop their happiness, and we have all kinds of programs in that realm as well.
Because Barry wrote a book about that too.
Exactly. Yeah, he's written many books. So, I think for your audience too, that might be something, that they would be interested in, is because then that relates to parenting, it relates to relationships, it relates to, the world feeling out of control, calm amid chaos.
We're feeling that right now.
Yeah.
So it's the Option Institute.
The Option Institute and the Autism Treatment Center of America. So we're together. That's an organization that is a nonprofit organization with 2 particular branches. And one is for adults who want to do personal growth, and the other one is for children and their families who have autism.
Yeah. So what does the adult program look like? What are the options there?
So it's done through Zoom. So once again, we used to do it on campus where people would come and stay, but now it's done through Zoom. So we have a number of different programs. Some of the programs are, 2 sessions. Some of the programs are a whole week, and they're on a number of different topics, right? So we have something called Make All Relationships Easier, which is purely about the relationships that you have in your life. We have one called Emotional Fitness Training, which is about, being able to be happy, basically. And like, just like you would lift weights at the gym, you can like have a happiness muscle. And how do you exercise that and train that? We have one called Wide Awake, which is taught primarily by Bears, the original Sunrise Program dad. He does 100% of it. And if you don't know him or you haven't met him, he is absolutely amazing. I mean, he's like 83 years old, but more vibrant and energetic than anyone else I know. and that's a session that happens every week. So, you come and it's like a 3-hour class, and then you come again the next week and it's another 3-hour class, and it's incredible. And a lot of the participants who come were originally Sunrise parents. And they started out trying to help their child, and then they were like, I actually want this for me.
Right.
So, yeah.
I need help for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I love that.
I'm glad you found out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good. We need all the help that we can get.
We do. And we're in, an epidemic of mental health crisis as well. So all the tools we can get, and these are things that aren't really taught in school, right? You don't get taught about your emotions and how to regulate them.
Actually
You
get excited.
Yeah, you don't get taught that you have beliefs, and your beliefs are actually something you can control. You can't control the environment and the circumstances, but you can control what you want to believe about those things.
Right.
And those are tools that aren't really offered. So
No, and that's interesting too when you talk about the belief system, because oftentimes people think that I'm all about like homeschooling, unschooling. I mean, I don't believe that mainstream school has inequalities. However,
yeah,
I also believe it's the belief system. So
Yeah.
like if you need to send your child to school, it's really about your belief system. If you are going to let your child know that they have a belief system too, and it can be different from what they're getting from school, that's okay.
yeah,
And it makes all the difference.
yes,
There's nothing wrong with mainstream school. I mean, there is, but like
yeah,
if you need to access it, and a
Mhm.
lot of people love it. They love being there.
yeah,
To have them, but to force them to go when they don't like it, and to
Mhm.
let them know that they have to listen to the teacher and what the teacher says is right, or the principal or whatever, you're giving away their agency. We have to retrain ourselves and give our child the empowerment.
Mhm.
They don't need to be belligerent, but they also don't need to subscribe.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people who do the Sunrise program end up pulling their children out of school and doing a version of homeschool, but just working primarily on the social piece. And using the child's intrinsic motivations and the things that they love as a way to teach and help them grow. But it comes from the kids really enjoying something, right? So, if that child loves garbage trucks, we dive into the world of garbage trucks, right? We can count garbage trucks. We can like learn about what would it be to be a garbage truck driver, like what would be a route a garbage truck would take, and really if
How
you
far is that distance?
Yeah,
What time does the garbage man come?
right.
Right? So
Yeah.
many things to learn.
Yeah. So we
And
see in the
truly,
Sunrise sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, truly, like what you were saying, like the most important is the social connection.
It is. Yeah, and coming away from that experience with another person, having that sense of positivity, like if that person played garbage trucks with me, and I love garbage trucks more than anything else, and then that person loved it and enjoyed it and dived into it and didn't try and steer away from it, but did everything around garbage trucks. That's called the motivation principle in the Sunrise program. And so if I'm that child and I walk away from that, I'm like, that was awesome. I got to play garbage trucks. I got to be with a person And they got to show me how wonderful it was to connect with a person. And so I can come back to that thinking that was successful, right? That was like good for me. I only got awesome things from that. But if we're at no, like put the garbage truck down, let's learn this, then that's our agenda.
Yeah.
And why would our kids have a buy-in, you know, if that's not something that's even remotely within their interest?
Yeah, and within that learning, you surround them with people who also take up their same interests, and they walk away feeling really good. And then what happens is when they meet people that aren't interested, then they have that differentiation and they know that they have the choice to either sit and listen to this other person not interested in what they're doing, or choose to always spend time with the people that actually make them feel happy.
Yes.
There's that choice. Oh my gosh, this was a really beautiful conversation.
I agree.
Thank
Let's do it
God.
again sometimes.
I know. Well, we're going to for sure because you have a story to tell, which I was gonna have to tell. But gosh, thank God for Barry and his wife, and
Yeah.
for you, and for all the people that are working in there.
Yeah.
And do you guys have a way where the participants of the Sunrise program, since they're all global, is there sort of like a discussion board via the back end of Sunrise so that they can always connect with each other?
Well, we also have something called the Sunrise Program Online. So it's something that is purely, it's 100% pre-recorded. And, you know, if you subscribe to that, then there's a news feed and you can connect with people. And
Okay.
then we have private Facebook groups for people who have come to our programs. So there isn't anything extra than that right now. Like, you know, as far as I think you used the word network or something before,
Yeah.
like a global network. We don't exactly have that. But you can come to our Facebook page, which is Autism Treatment Center America, and our Instagram, and you can surely find people on that page that you can connect with, you know, through the comments. But we are hoping to expand that, you know, the Sunrise program online, because it's a place where it's a subscription fee every month, but you also have that community that you have access to. Yeah.
Right. So important.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you. It was a joy.
Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to say, if you're a parent watching who has a child or an adult on the autism spectrum, that they have limitless potential. And you really are, even if you don't know it right now, you are truly your child's best resource, because you love your child more than anyone else. You're completely committed to your child. You also see your child day in, day out. So there's, you know, you can take your child to get an assessment or a diagnosis, and that person, that developmental pediatrician or whoever does that assessment, is going to see your child for 30 minutes. They're going to ask your child a few questions. They're going to get them to do some activities, but they're not going to see the whole picture of who your child is. So that diagnosis or that criteria that they give for your child doesn't mean anything about your child's capabilities. You know what your child's capable of. You see the spark in their eyes. You see them get your iPad, unlock it, know your password more than you do, right? Complete 5 levels of the game, or find the key that you've hidden somewhere when you haven't even told them, right? So you know that they're brilliant and smart, and it's just about believing in that and really taking control of your child's learning path and knowing that that's going to be the most powerful way you can help your child, is to believe that you're in the driver's seat, no one else.
Yeah, and you know your child's true potential.
Yeah, absolutely. You do. Even if you don't know it today, it's there.
Thank you so much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for your time, and I look forward to talking again.
Me too. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Becky.